Greetings, Barony players! The video you have all been waiting for has arrived. One of the most anticipated, most wanted informational videos centered on Barony has finally come right to your subscription feed, free of charge. The video in question, the very one you are watching, it is indeed the ultimate guide to playing the Mechanist class. So as I've done some creeping around various branches of the Barony community, the Steam forums, the Discord server, various YouTube videos, etc., I've noticed a common theme. People really like the Mechanist class and really want content of it. So, me, the Barony guy, I've made like 2 videos over the game, I gotta do it for the people. So let's get started by defining, what is the Mechanist class? Well, the Mechanist class is probably the most complex class in the entire game, simply due to the sheer amount of things it can do. As a Mechanist, you'll be primarily fighting foes at range, while using your toolkit to craft and repair various devices, some of which are good, and some of which are busted. In a multiplayer setting, the Mechanist falls back into a bit more of a supportive role, but in single player, given enough time, this class is certainly one of the best, provided you have done your homework and aren't stumbling around like a moron. If you want to bask in the glory of this robotically enlightened class, you must use your most powerful weapon, your credit card, and purchase the Legends and Pariahs DLC pack. If you are a diligent student in the Willis School of Barony, you should have done that already. I'm going to assume that if you are playing the Mechanist, then you're most likely running Automaton as your race. This is not required to play Mechanist, however, in some ways it does make it easier due to the Automaton's unique mechanics, which I will go over now. Firstly, automatons are, in theory, a more complex version of the human race, as they have the same alliances, that being humans and automatons. This means that the automaton is the one DLC race that can enter a shop and not be subject to hate crime. They also have the unique trait of being able to use cursed items, similar to the incubus and succubus. This naturally allows you to power level your skills much easier since you can just use whatever gear you find, no matter how garbage it is. The primary thing that separates automatons from the rest of the races is their magic system. Similar to the insectoid, the automaton's mana and hunger are tied together to make for more varied gameplay. Instead of having mana, the automaton has a heat meter. This is effectively just mana with a different name. The rate at which you regenerate heat is controlled by your boiler. Over time, your boiler will use up all the fuel in it and you will rapidly lose heat. Very bad if you're a magic class. To refill your boiler, you need to eat any trash lying about. This includes books, scrolls, rocks, gems, and even scrap. All of these things will act as fuel for your boiler, some adding more than others. For your reference, here's a chart of everything you can eat as an automaton. Now if you eat something like a gem and superheat your boiler, then the boiler icon will turn blue, and the rate at which you regenerate heat increases significantly. While you are below half of your maximum heat, you'll actually regenerate it twice as quickly, and this is doubled once more if your boiler is superheated. Finally, the automaton has plus 20 in tinkering when you repair an item. This is a fairly niche ability that really only matters if you have a tinkering kit. So now to actually talk about the class this video is about, the Mechanist. The Mechanist is an oddity for the reason that it derives all of its power from collecting garbage. Whatever it may be, armor, weapons, spellbooks, scrolls. If it's shit, the Mechanist will take it. The main problem with this is that all the scrap will not only take a toll on your inventory space, but also on your movement speed. If you keep too much scrap, you're gonna be too damn heavy to run away from that axe-wielding skeleton. The solution to this is, of course, crafting shit. Oftentimes, the things you make with scrap are lighter than the scrap itself. How this works at all, I don't know, but it's a fact we have to accept. A good example of this is fire traps. One fire trap costs 8 metal scrap and 12 magic scrap to craft. It has a weight unit of 2. Each piece of scrap weighs 1 weight unit. The scrap required to create a fire trap collectively weighs 20 weight units, whereas a fire trap itself is just 2. Incredible. Enough of the dubious weight mechanics. Let's get into what makes the Mechanist unique. Upon starting the game, the Mechanist has somewhat doo-doo skill levels, with 10 in trading, alchemy, and ranged, and 40 in tinkering. This spiritual pain is alleviated by your starting gear: a leather apron, which grants immunity to fire, 2 bottles for getting potions, 4 lockpicks to get into things you shouldn't be, 2 bear traps to make killing foes easier, a noisemaker to draw enemies towards you, a single sleep trap to give one lucky winner a trip to Snoozeville, a single sentry bot to do all the killing for you, 16 metal scrap and 8 magic scrap for eating and or crafting, a crossbow for shooting people with, and finally, the thing that fuels the Mechanist's debauchery, a tinkering kit. The tinkering kit itself lets you do 3 things: craft, salvage, and repair. Let us begin with crafting. Crafting is the most common activity you will be engaging in as a Mechanist, as your tinkering kit gives you a plethora of toys to create, some of which have very unique mechanics. The first few are general utility items that you can also find in chests or shops. These are lockpicks, sunglasses, bottles, lanterns, and bear traps. Lockpicks are actually worth making since a Mechanist specializes in the tinkering skill. You can actually unlock chests and doors pretty reliably. These are especially helpful in the swamps where the trap walls generate, since you can use the lockpick on them and get free special arrows for the crossbow that you start with. Very convenient. Sunglasses are always welcome, giving you 1 point in perception, and bottles can be situationally helpful if you have a brewer in your party or you yourself are trying to also do alchemy, though in my opinion, that's a bit too much. Lanterns are one of the most convenient things to craft, since then you don't need to hoard torches. You can just turn them into scrap. You can also craft a backpack for more inventory space and an alembic for brewing potions. But keep in mind, with the upcoming Eat My Hat update, the alembic is being replaced by the tech goggles, which gives buffs to perception, deploy speed, and gives immunity to friendly fire from the sentries. The best of these general items, though, is easily the bear traps. A smartly placed bear trap can result in especially difficult enemies, such as trolls, being taken down with ease, and the Mechanist essentially has an infinite supply of them. The rest of the craftable items are entirely unique to the tinkering kit, and can only be obtained by crafting them. First is the noisemaker. This acts as a more temporary method of distraction, with the main function being that it lures nearby enemies in a pretty generous radius to it, and applies confusion to them. This can be good for getting a large group of enemies away from you quickly and potentially causing infighting, or if you're absolutely insane, can be used to turn the center room in the gnome mines into a new type of hell previously unforeseen. Next is the dummy bot, which is far more reliable than the noisemaker. It similarly distracts enemies and takes the hits for you, so you can either run away or get an easy kill. These are particularly good for distracting the minotaur. You can also use a dummy bot to train your weapon skills up to 20, but this only works if you have friendly fire on. The next robot is a very special one, the most special in fact. It is the gyrobot. This little fella will act as a companion on your perilous journey and is more useful than you would think. Once you deploy it, you can give it a number of commands. My favorite two, and the two I think are the most useful, are acting as an infinite light source with 2 levels of brightness and the ability to ping nearby enemies. It can also ping items, exits, and traps. These are not the only things it can do though. It can also move around, transport items, move traps across gaps to remotely place them, and pick up any previously deployed bot and bring it to the next level whenever you go through the level exit hatch. With all of these things in mind, the gyrobot is easily the best NPC in the game, which is made even better because enemies generally avoid it since it doesn't try to fight for you, so you won't see it go on a suicide mission into a horde of goblins. It can still be destroyed by boulders though, so make sure to keep a close eye on your son so he doesn't get crushed. There are also 2 types of sentry bots to craft, normal sentry bots and spell bots. These sentries act as infinite ranged damage sources, but they cannot move out of the way of danger. They also have some pretty basic commands such as locking their aim in one place. The sentries are probably the least complex of the Mechanist creations. They do their job and they do it well. Finally, the most powerful items that the Mechanist can craft, the traps. These are straight up broken, in the sense that this is one of the easiest methods of killing literally anything through the whole game. There are 4 types of trap: fire, ice, sleep, and teleport. Flame traps will do a set amount of damage and inflict permanent burning. Ice traps will do a set amount of damage and inflict a slowness effect. Sleep traps inflict an infinite sleep effect, and teleport traps will teleport whatever triggers the trap to a random location. The best use for teleport traps is to make a kill room with several sentries set up and a teleport trap in the middle. When you find your next victim, simply get them to walk on a second teleport trap and they will be whisked away to their demise. You can also give one to your gyrobot, have it carry the trap across a gap to an unreachable location, place the trap, and then you place another teleport trap down, and you have remotely transported yourself to a new location. Wonderful. All of the 4 trap types have a somewhat hidden feature, where if you interact with a deployed trap with a lockpick in your main hand, you can change its detonation preference. It will be detonated by anything by default, but with one use of a lockpick can be changed to not detonate from you or your allies. This is less fun though. You should always aim to grant your friends an explosive end, even though you're only in the mines. What makes these traps so broken though, is that they ignore each other. There is no collision between traps. You can place 20 of them in the same place, and when an enemy steps on them, all 20 will go off. Let's use the Minotaur as an example. The second main mechanic of the tinkering kit is salvaging. In order to craft all the wonderful things the kit offers you, you need to get scrap, and salvaging is the way to do it. There are a couple ways to salvage things. The main method is from the tinkering menu. Just select salvage and right-click any garbage you don't want, and boom, you now have scrap. You can also salvage things by holding the tinkering kit in your offhand, blocking with it, and then right-clicking any trash items around you. The final method of salvaging is with the aptly named Salvage spell. You can only get this if you are playing as an automaton. This spell has a small area of effect that when casted will salvage anything around you that can be turned into scrap. I do recommend you be careful when doing this however, as it's a good way to accidentally destroy an item you may have wanted to use. There's a sort of dichotomy between salvaging items via the spell or the kit, since if you use the kit you'll naturally get more tinkering XP, but if you use the spell you'll get magic XP, allowing for an easier time of learning and using spells. Whether you wish to completely min-max your tinkering or delve into the arcane arts a smidgen, it's up to you. The final and arguably most important thing the Tinkering Kit allows the Mechanist to do is repair. This one aspect gives the Mechanist basically infinite utility. Why keep 3 shields in your inventory when you can just repair the same one over and over? Repair scrolls aren't necessary because you can just use your Tinkering Kit. Eventually, once your Tinkering skill is high enough, you can even repair artifacts. It is much more expensive than repairing anything else, but there will be a point where you have hundreds of scrap and nothing to spend it on, so why not take that Gungnir from worn to excellent? This is especially good in multiplayer since you can ensure that each party member can stay within their niche by repairing their shit when it breaks. And with that, you now know everything you need to know to play the Mechanist class. I do believe it is one of the best classes in the game, and it is definitely the most utilitarian. It works in both single player and multiplayer scenarios, ensuring maximum compatibility with party composure. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go back to the hospital. You see, my family fell victim to a hot air balloon accident, and somewhere in there a demon got involved as well. The more of you that subscribe, the faster I can get there, and emotionally aid them for the last of their days. More videos are on the way, so do be prepared.